Hi everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Oh boy, today we're going to talk about failure. But more than that, we're going to talk about learning from mistakes and identifying how to improve, what to work on, and where we went wrong. Or I guess where I went wrong. Nah, you're fine. I went wrong. But yeah, so true to my word, true to my word, what I did last week with my new clan, with Nightmare unlocked, I put my 3 keys into Nightmare Hydra. You can actually see how we did. Not super well by any means. To see how we could do. To see how we could do. So I want to show you the 3 keys and what I've learned from it. And by the way, to put it in context, the rewards that you need. So I actually got a Guardian chest from the 3 keys, which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? It's better than a Night chest. Night chest being the best reward from hard. So I got better reward than hard. Guardian chest is like the top chest from brutal. And it's actually not too bad in Nightmare in the sense that, hey, look, 29.4 million damage on brutal. That's pretty hard to get. I was able to get it with 12.2, or well, in this case, I got 14.4 million from Nightmare, but I'm really looking to hit that 24.4 for Master. Anyway, here's how I did. So this is the first team I put in, and this team actually performed reasonably well. It performed reasonably well for what it was. And this is actually an accident. I was testing out Mithrala Lifebane right after my stream yesterday. Her masteries weren't finished. Her gear's not fully rolled up. I was just throwing her in to sort of see how she would do in general. I was actually very impressed with her. This team did reasonably okay, 5.26 million. And when you look at this team, as you can see, the only damage dealer in the team is Ninja. And he did okay. Now, I can immediately tell you a few of the things that I thought worked well in this team and a few things that didn't work well. So, number one, Ninja. My Ninja is still too squishy when it comes to Nightmare Hydra. So I have a lifesteal Ninja, but I was still struggling to keep him alive, right? It was still difficult to keep him alive, even in lifesteal. He only has 43,000 HP, 1,800 defense. I am strongly considering, again, changing up my Ninja once more, keeping his speed good, keeping his accuracy good, but maybe even just ditching crit rate, crit damage, forgetting about attack, and just cranking his HP and his defense up, because so much of his damage comes from the hail burn effect, which is activating those HP burns and how that pulses damage to all the Hydras. Now, we would lose out on all the damage from his A1, his A3. We'd lose out on basically the damage from his passive, which sucks, but it might be worth it. But it was certainly an interesting experiment. It's not like my top priority to change him up. I think he's doing okay, though there was quite a lot of support in with this team. Honestly, apart from that, the team worked pretty well. It actually worked okay. One of the issues for sure, though, is keeping block buffs on these heads on Nightmare becomes very difficult. Very, very difficult. The heads have so much speed, and getting enough speed on our own champions is very important. You're going to see that's one of the big takeaways of these runs. Now, my best key was actually this one. This team, as you can see right here, this is my team which was able to 1-key hard difficulty Hydra this rotation. This team can 1-key hard. When we came up to Nightmare, though, we just got overrun. We walked away with 6.62 million, which is fairly underwhelming for sure. Really the big issue that we came into here, and I think the big thing that is missing when we go up to these higher difficulties, and might be missing in your compositions if you got worse gear than me and you're doing lower difficulties, you know? I think the things I'm learning here might also help you. I think speed control is something that's really missing. We look at this composition, we have no increased speed, and our ability to put decreased speed is very limited. Like Royal Guard can land it sometimes, but he doesn't have enough accuracy for Nightmare. So his A3 landing some random decreased speeds basically doesn't work. Tomb Lord decreases speed with his A1. But yeah, it's not that good. Now, when we look at, I think this was really interesting for me, and it's part of why I think Krisk is so strong for Hydra. We got the Krisk Wars are starting next, well, probably already started. If you want to be getting your Krisk, you need to be really hardcore farming for this week and next week. But I thought, hey, when we look at these teams, right, Krisk gives you both decreased speed AoE and also increased speed. But this team, obviously, Krisk can focus on decreased speed. Tuhanarak also gives you increased speed. For this team right here, increase speed, decrease speed. This team here, increase speed, decrease speed. increase speed and decrease speed from her. Increase speed, increase speed. We got a lot of speed stuff happening. Shamrock does both. Going to be talking about Shamrock in tomorrow's video. I'll leave it at that. But I was basically flicking through all these top teams from Nightmare. And what do we see across the board? We have champions that can increase their speed and also champions that can put fairly reliable decreased speed out as well. And that is definitely something that I ran into as a big problem, is that they were just too fast and I just could not keep up with them. Part of that is some gearing problems as well. Some of these champions I feel should be and could be faster for Nightmare. But yeah, you just get overrun. They take too many turns. The Head of Mischief becomes too quick. And especially if you start stealing your turn meter, you get overrun. You can't keep up. And I was very quickly running into situations very early in these runs where my champions, I was having 2 champions eaten at the same time. I simply did not have enough time to get around to another Royal Guard smack, really, before they were eating another champion. It was that sort of rough. It was very, very challenging. So that is something for sure to watch out for. And I need to reevaluate my team comps because of that. With this team, I was obviously happy enough with Royal Guard and Geomancer's performance. Obviously, their sets could be better. I think that's a big thing. If you watch my Hydra takeover, a Royal Guard with Relentless set, or even a Reflex set, that sort of makes a big difference to getting back around to your takedown faster and really nuking out that damage. Without those sets, it definitely draws back from the viability. Geomancer's working okay, but again, that deflection set, it was good for Bommel, but for Hydra, it's much worse than a Reflex set, and it's much worse than a Relentless set. You guys might know my other Royal Guard I'm working on right now, I'm getting a second one up, and he is going to be in a Reflex set, so we'll see how that works. Brogni was okay. The real danger with Brogni is that block debuffs, once that gets stolen and spread around the Hydra heads, it's GG, you get destroyed. So that's definitely something to watch out for. You can make him work, but I feel we need more resistance on the team. We need a bit more control in order to get away with using Brogni. So I wasn't too impressed with that. And then Tomb Lord was very unimpressive, and so was Godseeker. I feel like Tomb Lord and Godseeker really fell off. Godseeker especially was amazing. She's been amazing on other rotations. She's been amazing on lower difficulties. But when I brought Godseeker into Nightmare, this was the problem I ran into with my build, which is that she's actually still reasonably squishy with 40k only HP. That's a bit bad. 224 speed is okay, but I'd rather be up at about 250 and have increased speed, decreased speed, buffs and debuffs going to get around quicker. And her damage with the crit rate, crit damage didn't really amount to much. Resistance, this accuracy, again, these numbers literally both do nothing. She's too low. You need 300 plus accuracy for Nightmare. She doesn't have that. You need, well, preferably like 500 plus resistance. So she's not resisting anything. So I felt like this generalist build wasn't really working. It didn't really do much when it came to Nightmare. So I feel like for Nightmare, she needs a pretty big rebuild. Like, her damage is okay, but I mean, it's not really that relevant compared to better enabling Geomancer and Royal Guard. Tomb Lord, very underwhelming as well. Obviously, he comes in and he brings you a basically guaranteed decreased speed if he crits on his A1. So he gives you that decreased speed on the head of Decay, so that you can do like the whole, block buffs on the Poison Cloud and then get going. He has an AoE decrease attack and decrease defense. The issue with Tomb Lord is that, number one, his poisons don't work. So too many of the heads are immune to poison, so it's just not useful. So yeah, he's got a really good A1 with decreased speed. And Blight is a great move. It goes through Poison Cloud as well, so that's awesome, but it's got a very long cooldown with 4 turns. So I just felt like he wasn't really contributing that much. Every 4 turns, yeah, decrease attack, decrease defense is fine, but it's a long cooldown, and we were kind of getting overrun. The single target decrease speed, definitely not super viable. And for me, he's again just too squishy. I'd really rather be 50k HP, maybe more like 3000 attack, pushing those sorts of numbers to feel a bit better. So I wasn't too taken with him compared to a Krisk, who's consistently putting out AoE decrease speed with his A1, compared to Mother Cybele, who's coming in with a 50% chance for AoE decrease speed with her A1 and filling her turn meter. I felt like she and Krisk are much, much more impressive than Tomb Lord. He was sort of flopping there. So yeah, this team was my best, but I think it needs to be changed up a lot for that speed control. And then my final team, this was like just throwing in whatever stuff I had left. And yeah, I mean, we basically did what, 2.5 million damage with HP burn. So this is a team that just went in there and we just sat there and tanked through it. Mordecai would throw up some AoE HP burns. Drexstar would burn stuff when he's hit. He's unbucked, so he doesn't have the best chance to land it. And we just tanked it through. And eventually we just started getting eaten and we couldn't break people out because we have no actual damage, really, no direct damage. But hey, kind of an interesting figure here. With this rotation being the hardest rotation, you can get a couple of million out with just putting HP burns on and just surviving, which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah, it was kind of funny. Obviously, people are getting eaten pretty early on. We couldn't break them out. So yeah, but it was kind of a throwaway last key. But it's good to know that that is what I can achieve. So, yeah, what do I think then? Looking at Nightmare, or stage 8049004 name, what am I going to be doing this week? So I've already started retweaking some stuff, and I am sort of rebuilding teams. So these were like the teams I was using last time. And I'm thinking of ways to switch them up. And I'm looking at stuff more along the lines like this. Now, they're not in the right order, so I'd have Mother Cybele as the lead right here. But I'm thinking something like this team might be a nice improvement. Mother Cybele giving us a speed aura, so we're faster. Decreased speed 8-1. Lydia comboing with her to give us that increased speed and strengthen, help us stay alive. Mother Cybele gives us increased defense. Rector Drath to actually heal us and top us up. Then my Archbishop Pinthroy now. This is not quite going to work because he's not booked yet. I've slightly booked him, but he's not booked enough. He needs his A2 and his A3 really to be booked. But he can come in, give us the block buffs. He also gives us increased defense, a heal, and a shield, so really helping us stay alive. Then the Royal Guard and Geomancer to do the damage. So I'm thinking this should actually be a much better team than this one. It's going to be a much better team than this one, right? We're just going to sort of upgrade with some legendaries here and get more consistent speed control so we can stay on top of the boss a bit more effectively. So we'll see how it works. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to see. Then for team number 2, obviously I'm going to be upgrading this Geomancer to 60. I need to roll up his gear, so it's going to take me a few days to get to that. Hopefully I get to it this week. Then I'm going to throw in a Husk because I have another Royal Guard that I'm working on as well. But I just don't have the epic books. I don't have the chickens and stuff to get him to 6-star for a while yet. But it is something I would like to replace the Husk with Royal Guard. I think Royal Guard's a bit better, but Husk should be decent and nice because I don't have a Reviver on this team. And we're going to obviously bring in the Ugo. I figured that we'd put Pinthroy in this team instead of Ugo so that she can bring decreased defense to a team. Maybe we'll try out the Mithrala in this team then to give us a whole bunch of shielding and strengthen, really helping our team to stay alive. And then we'll bring in our boy Shamrock. More about him tomorrow for that increased speed and decreased speed, plus some buff steals. And then Demitha to basically do the healing to top people up. So I'm thinking that might be a better team. Number 2, again, we're going to have a good source of damage, 2 decent damage dealers. We will have block buffs, we'll have decreased defense, and most importantly, we'll have speed control. And enough healing to stay alive. So this is sort of what I'm going for. Trying to move away from too many healers and defensive buffs and focusing more on that speed control. Then the final team is just a throwing to get, I guess it would work as a comp, but these are a few champions that I'm sort of considering as like, okay, these are some of my options for a third team. I think the third team is a bit wonkier. Obviously, we still have Ninja that could even potentially go into another team. He could totally go into another team, maybe instead of instead of Husk. Maybe he'd work better. I don't know. We can test it out. I can try it, and I'll see how it goes. But yeah, some sort of other champions. But you can see sort of my thought process here, and I will let you know, and I'll maybe even get you some footage as well for next time of how it's going. But yeah, so that's how I did. That is how I did. We get 14.4 million first attempt here at Nightmare Hydra. So we're hitting that Guardian chest, which is less than I wanted, but it's okay. It's less than I wanted, but it's okay. I definitely feel like we could have done a lot better, and hopefully we will do a lot better. The way I'm looking at it, though, is that, hey, look, this is the hardest rotation of Hydra. If we can get it even just to the Guardian chest this rotation, if we can even push up to Master chest this rotation, we're going to have no problem getting Master Chest in any of the other 3. The other 3 rotations are way easier. So if this is my lowest point, that's okay. We can work up from there. And again, I already feel like I've learned a good bunch. I have some ideas for stuff to re-gear as well, some thought processes there. And it was also very interesting. You guys can compare, like when you see me doing 14.4 million total, if you guys checked out my Hydra account takeover last weekend, where I got to jump onto Coop Dog's account and like we got to go in with his account, which had a Krisk and a Duchess, and just the difference it makes. Krisk, like, this is why the only reason I'm even slightly considering, somewhat encouraging people, not even encouraging, but that I wouldn't go, it's a stupid idea. The Whale Wars, right? The Krisk Wars, Krisk's from the champion training. The only reason why I wouldn't say like, no, that's crazy is because Krisk is just that good. He is insane. He makes your key so much better. But yeah, there you go, guys. So I hope this was sort of interesting. You could see, how I've struggled and get some ideas for what sort of stuff is working well. What sort of stuff is working well, what isn't. Yeah, I think it's interesting. You can see, for example, that this key, I guess this key probably went, considering Rector Drath is a lot less healing than Demitha, probably went quite a lot longer on that key. So that's always interesting to see. But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and enjoy my failure, enjoy my suffering. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.